Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the new generation took over the WWF. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
I'm coming to Hershey Park, Pennsylvania, that scumhole of the earth.
And it is Joe Giammatteo.
You know what? I can't stand you guys. I hate all the fans, too. The only people I like are Shawn Michaels and the people that wear those black gloves.
It's a good thing Barry Dudensky was selling them a couple weeks ago. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw at a time. But first, we have a mail call going on here. Ryan, what do you have going on over there?
We have a correction email here from a Steve in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Okay.
He says, "Hey guys, I love the show and download every week." Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you.
I'm writing to you with a correction. Your episode for the October 23rd, 1995 Raw, when Al Snow debuted as Avatar, Jason said that he believed Al Snow had no martial art background, and that is wrong. Al Snow has a black belt in Kempo-style karate and a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. From there, Steve then gave us a couple links to interviews where Al Snow talked about that. So there you go, Jason. He's bitch-slapping you down, saying you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
Al Snow indeed is a martial artist. So He then finishes up with, just thought you guys might want to know. Keep up the good work. So thanks again, Steve. What do you have to say about that, Bartlett?
Well, first of all, Steve can go fuck himself. No, I'm just kidding about that. Totally kidding about that. I love the constructive input. I love the engagement with the listeners. And I love being wrong about things. I try not to talk out my ass quite so much, but every once in a while, a little gem like that slips through. And I'm glad that we have such devoted listeners and such informed listeners that reach out to us to issue corrections to us. It was good to hear, good to see, and good to know that they're paying attention. Thank you, Steve.
Your punishment, Bartlett, will be a day spent at Hershey Park, Pennsylvania.
God damn it. I've already put the proper paperwork into my personnel file, so I suppose that's the next step. That's stage 2 in the disciplinary process around here, Hershey Park. All right. Well, in this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on November 20th, 1995. This Raw was recorded at the Richmond Coliseum in Richmond, Virginia, and features Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I am ready.
Yes.
All right, then. Let's get into it. We're going to start this episode with highlights from the championship match at Survivor Series last night. Keep in mind, this is the follow-up show the day after Survivor Series 1995, and these are all going to be still shots showing us the epic showdown between Diesel and Bret Hart. The excellence of execution had one last gasp as Bret Hart hit Diesel with the small package roll-up out of nowhere. After that, we get the Nitro Light entrance. And then commentary lets us know about the main event tonight, that being Owen Hart versus Shawn Michaels. And I tell you what, guys, that looks like it might be right up my alley. That's a dream matchup right there.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the 1-2-3 Kid's heel turn. We get video footage of the actual turn, where the Kid betrayed Razor Ramon in his match against Psycho Sid. And then still shots of the Kid and Marty Jannetty at Survivor Series last night. And then one of the more disappointing things I've seen, some backstage footage of the 1-2-3 Kid and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, hugging and backslapping. That little video package of the betrayal will lead us into our first match of the night. The 1-2-3 Kid defeats Hakushi by pinfall in 6 minutes and 51 seconds. I like Lawler's commentary on the 1-2-3 Kid here at the beginning, previously having delusions of adequacy before he straightened out and decided to fly right with the $1 Million Man. Thankfully, the Kid came out to his own music instead of the $1 Million Corporation music. I was hoping that would not be a trend. And I was sad to get the news that Razor Ramon was going to be joining us on the phone. It's not anything personal against Razor, it's just, as our frequent listeners know, we are generally not fans of the phone call during the match. Tends to be a bad omen for things. I didn't care for those weird, wrenching bulldogs down to the mat that the Kid used on Hakushi. It seemed like it was kind of a reverse move. Hakushi was going for some rope work, a whip off the ropes, and rather than let go of Hakushi to hit the ropes, the Kid kind of just ratcheted down on the headlock and dragged him to the mat. It was just slightly awkward, and it didn't seem like somebody of the physicality, we'll say, of the 1-2-3 Kid would be able to really effectively do that to somebody the size of Hakushi. And I tell you what else I really, really disliked, and that was Marty Jannetty running down to the ring to try to interfere in the match. What the fuck, Marty? Are you trying to give the Kid the win here? I liked the standing sidekick from Hakushi to put the Kid through the ropes to the outside. And that's about it as far as my notes go. The 1-2-3 Kid secures the victory after some interference from the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and a spinning heel kick from the Kid. So I thought this match was kind of subpar for both competitors. There are some growing pains here, as both wrestlers are undergoing role reversal. Hakushi, this is, I want to say, 3 or 4 matches into Hakushi's babyface turn. And this is the 1-2-3 Kid's second match as a heel. And to be frank, I think it showed. Joe, what did you think of this match?
Well, I was looking forward to it because these two had a match a few months ago at In Your House that was pretty good. And then we get Razor on the phone immediately when the guys lock up. So sort of a distraction there. But I will say that Razor Ramon, the first part of his call, he basically cuts a promo on the 1-2-3 Kid. And I think they should have had him just hang up right there. Like the promo that he cut was pretty good. But then Vince starts asking him more questions, and it's just kind of ruined it. You know, it wouldn't be a first match of the night on Raw without Marty Jannetty, right? He has to make an appearance. He's not even in the match. I was excited, and then I see him come out in his street clothes, and I'm just like, please, God, no. And thankfully, they kept him out of the ring. He just left, so that was nice. The Kid does a frog splash. I don't know if you guys notice. It's not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not good. I don't think he used it as a finisher. Maybe he did. I don't remember, but
no.
It's just not a good frog splash, but he does a really good leg drop from the top rope. And I think that he needs to use that more often instead of the frog splash. But the Kid as a heel, I said during our Survivor Series show that he's just basically after every series of moves, he's doing these karate stances just to get the crowd hyped up. And he's also throwing up the click hand signal now.
Yes.
Outside of that, he's not really doing anything that a heel would normally do, you know? So I don't know. He's still getting comfortable in this role with his fresh perm that he has. I thought the match was good. I thought it was a good match, but there were too many distractions. There's Marty Jannetty, there's Razor on the phone, there's Ted DiBiase interfering. So there was too many distractions, and it was too predictable that Ted DiBiase was going to interfere and the Kid would get the win.
It sounds like we're all going to be kind of on the same page with this match. You know, going into it, I was very excited. I think we've said many times, you know, this is a matchup that we like to see. These are two great workers. But just like both of you, when I heard that Razor Ramon was going to call in, I'm just thinking to myself, come on, this is the shit you save for jobber matches, not a 1-2-3 Kid Hakushi match, you know? But I do agree with Joe. Razor cut an amazing promo, though, calling the Kid a little snot-nosed punk and that he's nothing but small change. And, you know, I thought that was a great promo, but then Vince ruined it. They could have just cut it off short, and it just would have been a good promo because it looked like it was planned. The guys in the ring at that point weren't really doing anything. They were just doing some holds to waste time. And almost right on cue when the phone call ended, it picked up. I just could have really done without that. And then, I don't know, did you guys hear that bit of an off-color comment the King made soon as they hung up the phone? It didn't even tie into anything, but the King says something about Taco Bell, and then he just kind of trails off, and Vince immediately just cuts him off and changes the subject.
Yeah, I did hear that, and I was confused as to what the hell he was talking about. But then again, I don't pay as much attention to commentary, so I just assumed it was something that I had missed.
He just, says... basically, and Taco Bell, and it just makes no sense. It just doesn't really tie into anything. It was just like, I want to throw in a taco joke here about Razor Ramon.
Razor was putting the Scarface accent on pretty thick. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
And then after the phone call, things did pick up, and then immediately Marty Jannetty comes running down, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, leave this match alone. Just let these two guys wrestle. Thankfully, the ref keeps Marty from interrupting, but I did enjoy some of the work here. The Kid's frog splash, not one of them. I certainly have that down, that his knees had to shatter after that. Yeah. I don't know how he walked after that frog splash because it was nasty looking. But something that wasn't was Hakushi from the top rope. He did that forearm where he launched himself off the top rope, and it looked great. It was just very fast. The Kid sold it, and the way he monkey rolled and lands on his feet after cleanly was just, I thought, really fantastic looking. But Ted DiBiase got involved, of course, like Joe said, very predictable. So I didn't think there was bad work by the two, but just so many interruptions ruined this match.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify, and Joe, you kind of touched on it here earlier, the 1, 2, 3 Kid doing the gestures. I don't even know what you would call it, but after the karate kicks, doing the Karate Kid hi-ya kind of gestures. Like I said, I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, he just makes random karate stances, basically.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that I'm referring to whenever I'm saying that, it's not showing that he's taking to being a heel, because these are the same gestures that he was making as a way to intimidate heels before. But now, rather than aiming these gestures at a heel competitor, he's aiming the gestures kind of at the crowd. And it's like, we're not talking about the same thing. The crowd is not a heel that you're working with in the ring here, And that's the kind of thing that made me say that. I don't see any kind of translation to the heel. Does that make sense? He has his skill set, but being able to work that skill set in a heel way, he's just doing the same things, but redirecting it in the wrong direction.
Well, there's a lot of things about him. I think Joe brought it up a few weeks ago about his music that, it's great. It's not coming out to the $1 Million Man's music, but that 1, 2, 3 at the beginning just is not a heel-sounding music.
A crowd pop right after the 3.
Right. It just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It just seems like this whole thing with the Kid and his heel turn is sloppy. Maybe not sloppy, but just not well thought out. I don't know. I'm having just such a hard time buying it.
They're going at it very half-assed like.
Yeah, and I'm willing to give it a chance. It's just, they haven't been endearing it to me so far. But we're going to move it along here. Immediately following that match, Lawler interviews the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and the 1, 2, 3 Kid at ringside. And it seems like the point of this is to continue the push of Marty Jannetty. I say that because they call him out. Marty Jannetty comes out, but so does Sid right behind him. So close, in fact, that they had to have run into each other backstage. They don't play it that way, of course, but in the end, Sid and the 1, 2, 3 Kid double-team Jannetty there at ringside. I felt zero sympathy for him at first, but then I was genuinely terrified for Marty Jannetty's safety when Psycho Sid powerbombed him onto the concrete. If anything, that would be karmic justice, but in this case, it seems like Jannetty was Jannetty was all right. Sid caps this off by yelling that if Jannetty wants the Kid, he also gets the master and ruler of the world. I find it very ironic that the master and ruler of the world is a toady to a rich man. But before we go any farther, Joe, I have to hear what you think of all this and the ongoing push of Marty Jannetty.
That was a power bomb to hell. And I actually wish they would have pulled the mat up for that. Yeah. And just driven him into the concrete. I loved it.
Same here. Like, the moment that they called out Marty, I'm like, oh, come on. Do you really have to call out Marty? But then I get a smile from ear to ear when I see Sid stalking him immediately, because I knew what was coming. You knew that he was just going to get destroyed, and they delivered. When he got that power bomb on the outside, I fucking loved it.
Just pummeled.
All right, next up, Doc Hendricks with the Slam Jam.
The cocaine jam.
Last night, Doc couldn't sleep at all, but I doubt it's because of the Survivor Series. I'd be willing to wager it's that fucking 8-ball that he's got in my bed. At the next pay-per-view, In Your House 5, it's going to be Bret Hart and the British Bulldog for the championship. We knew that coming out of Survivor Series last night. And Davey Boy comes on to cut a pretty good promo for us. This is a classic wrestling promo, and it sounded damn good to my ears. And next, we find out that at In Your House 5, there's going to be an Arkansas hog match between Henry O. Godwin and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. But before we can hear more about that and what that means, we get the news that Diesel is in the building. And sure enough, there's footage of him showing up and shoving people out of his way as he walks through the doorway. Dun dun dun. Foreshadowing. Now, back to the hog match. Apparently what that means is that there is a hog pen set up outside the ring, full of pigs and slop and shit, and the way you lose is to get tossed into it. I am extremely conflicted about all of this. But so far, I am not turned off. I don't know what the hell to do with myself in going into this. Then it was back to ringside. But before we move along, just briefly, guys, Ryan first, what did you think about the 2 confirmed matches for In Your House 5? We already knew that we were going to have Bret Hart and the Bulldog, but more importantly, what do you think about the fact that Big Daddy Cool is now in the building?
Well, I'm going to lead off with my excitement about Big Daddy Cool in the building.
As well you should.
But yeah, whatever. I liked he pushed a couple little people out of his way. You know, he's kind of playing up the bully role now, but okay. I'm intrigued, I guess. He's different than the last Diesel we have been seeing. As far as the Bret Hart British Bulldog match goes, of course, that's something to look forward to. I mean, come on. I think anyone that is a wrestling fan, if you see those 2 people on the headline match for the main belt of a company, that's going to be an exciting thing to watch. So looking forward to that. But the promo that the Bulldog cut was great. And the fact that Hershey Park, Pennsylvania is right in my backyard just really makes this great. I mean, this is just a quick ride down the road for me. So that was great. The match between Godwin and Triple H, which we can now call him, like you, conflicted. I want to see these 2 very badly, but I feel like this gimmick might ruin it. A hog pin match? Come on.
Yeah, they're really going over the top with the blue blood snob gimmick. The Bret Hart and Bulldog match, I'm looking forward to it. The only thing I don't like is that they're obsessed with bringing up that 1992 SummerSlam match. It brings it down a little bit because it's almost putting pressure on the guys. Like, hey, you better deliver like you did 3 years ago.
And to me, it almost does the opposite. It makes me think, well, the Bulldog's definitely going to lose, that they keep on playing up. I don't know. That's just the way I feel.
Right, yeah, and this is a totally different scenario. Both guys were baby faces last time, and it was in London. So, yeah, this is in fucking Hershey, the scumhole of the earth. And one guy's a heel and one's a baby face. It's totally different. Just let it ride out, you know? The Diesel appearance, at this point, I'm not sure what they're going to do with him. They're not saying that. Usually they'll say Vince is going to interview Diesel in the ring. You know, they'll tell us what's going to happen, but we don't know at this point. So not sure what to expect there.
Agreed. I was a little bit, I don't know, not surprised, but like What the fuck? Like, who cares? Not who cares, but like, just why? Why is it so important that Diesel's in the building? We know what happened last night at Survivor Series. We know that he was angry about it because they certainly highlighted that at the opening of the episode here. But like you say, there was no follow-up, oh, we're going to try to get a word with him, or, if you're Bret Hart, you need to be nervous right now, or something like that, No follow-up to that whatsoever. It was just coked up Hendricks, Diesel's in the building, and then back to coked up Hendricks. We're going to move it along now because at some point here in the near future, things are going to become much clearer in our next match. Skip versus Savio Vega ends in a no contest in 3 minutes and 25 seconds. What can make a Savio Vega entrance even better, I ask you? Well, that would be Barry fucking Dudinsky. And Barry is there selling denim jackets with various wrestlers airbrushed onto them. Usually, at the worst, I'm ambivalent about what Barry is selling us, if not excited. But this time, what Barry's got there and what he's pitching out to us, I have to say that those looked pretty damn bad. Especially at $59.
I wanted to know how much Barry wanted for a raw turtleneck.
I completely disagree with you, by the way.
Oh, wow. What poor taste you have. At $59.75. You think that's a deal?
Well, I don't know about a deal. I'm just saying, I'm going to put Barry Dudinsky over here. Big surprise. But just the whole setup for this, right? You have Savio coming down. He gives him a high five, and the camera just stops on him, and he's like, hey, guys, by the way. Yeah. And then, he has on this, and I agree, absurd-looking denim jacket. And then as they zoom in, you see it has the fucking Undertaker's name on it, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever this is. And then he just keeps on revealing more and more. He then turns around and you see this just obscene Undertaker painting on the back of this thing. And what a fucking salesman. He just keeps on reeling me in like the fucking mark I am. And I want it. I wouldn't be caught dead in public with this fucking thing. Don't get me wrong. But I want this fucking denim jacket.
He's like the ultimate, but wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Type of salesman.
I was maybe on board a little bit until he turned around and showed the back of it. Because not that you can really say that a denim jacket is classy, but it was as classy as it possibly could be at first with just the nice subtle lettering over the breast pocket and the front, but then he turns around and it's like something that you'd buy at the fair.
No doubt. And this is something...
And it was horrible.
This is something that, like I said, I would not wear out in public, but I would put in a frame and put it up in my man cave any day of the week.
Ugh. $59.
And Barry out of nowhere here was awesome.
Like I said, the way that they just stopped on him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Usually Vince is like, hey, let's go to Barry Dudinsky, but he just appeared on camera out of nowhere.
High five from Savio.
Yeah.
Transition to him.
Savio put him over hard.
Uh-huh.
I'm not complaining about the execution of the Dudinsky segment here at all. I'm just saying that this is the first time he's ever had a product. It just...
You wanted the Diesel sunglasses and gloves from a few weeks ago then.
Mm-hmm. The clearance items.
That's the only way I can apparently be friends with Kevin Nash. We'll get to that here in a second. Back in the match, Skip was moving a little slowly here to start things out. Not sure what it was, but it looked like he was taking his time and being ginger in his actions and motions, like he was maybe sore or... I don't know. It was kind of hard to read the situation. It wasn't bad. It was just slow. Well, kind of in a bad way, I guess. But he was selling his ass off for Savio, and they were working pretty well together, I thought. This didn't last long, however. There wasn't enough time to really get into what they were doing because it was kind of obvious that they were kind of maybe filling time. Diesel came out then on his way to the ring, and it was a significant enough distraction to the workers there to cause them some confusion during rope work. Skip and Savio recover well, But Skip ends up going over the top rope to pancake on the concrete outside. This is at about the same time that Diesel reaches the ringside area between the ring and commentary. As Skip is starting to get up, Diesel grabs Skip by the head and tosses him, and then grabs a microphone. Diesel starts with, "I bet a lot of people are wondering where Big Daddy Cool's head is right now." And at that point, I couldn't help but think that we did not need to interrupt what was a decent enough match for this shit. And at that point is where I called the end of the match to get that match time of 3:25, because you can see in the background the ref talking to Savio and Savio leaving the ring. We do not get any word on where Skip went or what he's doing or Sonny or any of that. Diesel then cuts a promo. And let me tell you, this was quite possibly one of the most surprising things that have ever hit my ears. Just because we are so trained, I guess, to expect mediocre promos out of Diesel, with a couple significant exceptions recently. I wasn't expecting this at all. Diesel calls Vince out. Diesel calls out the whole of the WWF machine. Diesel calls out their shit of forcing Diesel to smile and act nice. And the overall message here is that the old Diesel is back, the babyface shit is done with. And the camera follows Diesel out. Shawn Michaels is there waiting for him, and they high-five and slap ass, and that's where I decided to end this segment. So, all in all, my mind is fucking blown over this, and I was really looking forward to talking to you guys about it. Ryan, what did you think of the match? But also, what is possibly the surprise promo of the year out of Diesel here?
Like you said, the match kind of started off and I wasn't sure if their timing just wasn't on. And I think Vince even brought it up at one point, saying that Skip missed or his timing was off on some move. But then they started to pick up. And then immediately Diesel started walking down, and he looks very disgruntled, and there's the point where you could see Savio talking to the ref and he looks confused, and that was kind of my point where I said, okay, clearly this match is over, and that's where you ended it as well. And I was disappointed at first, but the promo that he cuts here, especially calling out Vince McMahon, I mean, this is one of the first times, really, that we have someone calling Vince McMahon out as the owner and mastermind behind everything that happens here. I know there was, I think Lawler briefly alluded to it a couple years ago, but not as clear as this. Vince looked uncomfortable and Lawler gave his iconic ho, after he said it. It was great. And just everything he said here was what we have been missing out of Diesel for the last year. Why did you not allow him to do this? One thing that was, I thought, very striking is I didn't remember this at all, but I think everyone remembers when Scott Hall invades WCW.
That's what I had noted too.
This really, really reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Just the way he comes in, the match just kind of dissolves to nothing.
Give me a mic.
Yeah, give me a mic, and both of them cut just promo of the year. This is just shocking, and I'm sad for the last year how much we've been talking shit on Diesel, and finally, once he loses the belt, we're getting great stuff.
Yeah, for me, the match was worthless. Skip sucks for me. I'm sorry, I hate Skip. I don't mean that as I don't think Chris Candido sucks. I think Skip sucks. The gimmick sucks. It's going nowhere, and it just needs something different. So just got to put that out there first. Diesel coming out, Ryan, I agree. It really reminded me a lot of that Scott Hall promo. This is 1995. We're so far away from that Scott Hall promo. We're also very far away, like you guys pointed out, with calling Vince out as the owner. And it was probably, 97, where Bret Hart was doing it. Stone Cold Steve Austin was doing it. So, yeah, I mean, that's amazing. But let me just say this with this Diesel promo. I'm going to use the analogy of let's say, watching your favorite football team. They're losing the game. They're driving down the field with 2 minutes left. I'm like, yes, this whole time. Yes, this promo is awesome. And then he says, basically, I'm still friends with Shawn Michaels. And that's like, that was the pick six. Your team just lost. It lost me completely. I hated it. The black gloves thing, I hated that. Just go all in. I wonder who stopped this from happening. Was it Kevin Nash? Was it Vince? Was it the Clique? What stopped this from just being a full-blown heel turn? That pissed me off because I agree, promo of the year completely until that point, and it lost me.
Until all my black glove brothers.
Yes, and well, the Shawn Michaels thing again, like he keeps saying Shawn Michaels' name in the promo last week too. He said it. It doesn't do anything good for Shawn Michaels right now because he's got this guy kind of acting like a dickhead. So if you want Shawn to be a babyface, it's not really working for him. And it's too much. Like, it's basically exposing the Clique.
Yeah, and that's an even more salient point after the 1, 2, 3 Kid coming out and throwing up the too sweet symbol earlier.
Right.
Just really weird shit going on here that is kind of out of nowhere. I mean, it was great that we had Bret Hart win last night, and it's great that we finally got some emotion and a good match out of Diesel and, a step in the right direction as far as his character goes. But then it's like, rather than take the next logical step, which is develop it a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, it seems like we're going just balls to the wall here the very next day. I don't want that to come across as a harsh criticism, because I loved most of this. I loved just about all of it. I'm not as down on the call out to Shawn Michaels as you are. That didn't ruin it for me, but it was still enough to kind of be like, well, that one of these things isn't like the others.
It stuck out, but yeah, I'm not sure it ruined it for me like it did for Joe, but it certainly stuck out.
But it was still just kind of surprising. And the reason why it was surprising is not only because he just went from being such a smiley, happy babyface last night to now this almost raging asshole today, and not just because of what he's saying here, but also because of, like we say, calling Vince out here, and then blaming all of the shit, like you said, Ryan, all of the shit that we've been talking on Diesel for the past 7-8 months now. He pretty much clearly and succinctly lays at Vince McMahon's feet. Every single thing that we have disliked apart from the wrestling, because, and, we can't really saddle that entirely on Diesel's shoulders because he had his fair share of shitty opponents. But all of the things that have been pissing us off, he acknowledges them in one fucking promo and entirely lays them out at poor creative. And it's like, it's so refreshing to have this kind of reality coming into things. And, you guys mentioned about Scott Hall invading WCW. And I mean, that's pretty much what they did with the NWO to put it on the map and to put WCW up as a main contender to the WWF, and that focus on more reality-based storytelling. Well, here we have a taste of it. A peek behind the curtain, not quite exposing the business, but just coming up to the edge of kayfabe enough to just tickle our fancies a little bit and entice us with the mystery of what he's talking about. It makes me wonder how many people out there watching in 1995 were like, oh yeah, that's right, Vince does own the whole thing, and just kind of got their minds ticking a little bit about how things are going. So yeah, I mean, this was just, again, mind-blowing to me, because it was so drastically different than what we've been seeing. I hope we see more of it in the future. And I have a feeling we're going to get some more of it by the end of this episode. Not quite the same, but a different flavor, we'll say. Next up in the episode here, there is going to be a Survivor Series encore tomorrow night. And after that, let's take a look at what Kama is doing. Kama is apparently going to be putting his gold chain, that's the one that used to be the Undertaker's urn, on the line in a match with the Undertaker. I guess we're starting that rivalry up again. It's good to see The Undertaker working with somebody that isn't fucking Mabel. And we come back to ringside with high energy bumping and the news that Brother Love will be here next week. Just really, really briefly, guys. Brother Love, what the hell do you think about that? Joe, why don't you take that first?
I'm going to be honest with you. I totally missed it. Didn't even know that was happening until right at this moment. I honestly don't care at all.
I did catch it. It was very brief, so I could see how you can miss it very easily. But outside of, I certainly remember Brother Love from my childhood and, his I love you saying, so I don't know. I guess I don't really care, but I certainly remember him.
I thought it was really funny that we're coming out of this, like I said, this almost reality-based storytelling, and then right back to cartoon gimmicks. Well, that news about Brother Love and the just thrilling, energetic pulsing of Owen Hart's music, High Energy, is going to lead us into our final match of the evening. Owen Hart versus Shawn Michaels ends in a no contest in 10 minutes and 24 seconds. Vince was having multiple orgasms for Shawn Michaels' entrance and striptease. You could almost count every time he creamed his jeans. I loved the quick takedowns and pin attempts from Owen Hart to start this match out. He and Shawn Michaels both kicked this off pretty damn well with some tight, fast wrestling. Owen Hart does a fantastic job of selling arm wrenches from Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is also one of the greats at using those arm wrench takedowns. We get a view of Mr. Fuji sensibly staying in the entryway with his Japanese flag. And in the background, you can hear a little kid yelling at Mr. Fuji to put the flag down. Couldn't agree more, kid. Shawn Michaels selling those fantastic punches from Owen Hart. The working punches, perfect. Michaels selling, perfect. This was good shit, pal. About 4 minutes in, I decided that I could watch this all night long. This is my kind of wrestling. I loved the enziguri reversal from Owen Hart before breaking for commercial. And I loved Owen Hart seeing that the sweet chin music was coming, playing possum, and making Shawn drag Owen from the corner, only for Owen to use that setup for another enziguri reversal. And then out of nowhere, Shawn Michaels collapses, which is where I called the time on this match. So up until this point, we had 10 minutes and 24 seconds of amazing wrestling. Earl Hebner continues to be the worst fucking ref in the WWF. A man has just collapsed in the ring after grasping his temple. Earl Hebner proceeds to poke Shawn Michaels with the toe of his shoe, as if
like
Hebner
a dead horse.
Like he's poking a dead animal with a stick. That's the exact line that I used here.
Roadkill.
Just towing at him. Instead of getting down and for real checking on him, maybe looking for eye movement, feeling for a pulse. I don't know. I'm not a health professional, but these are the first things that come to my mind when somebody just fucking collapses in front of me after grasping their head.
Instead, he reacts like a Looney Tune character.
Oh, my goodness. That's what killed FDR, for Christ's sakes. Owen Hart does a fantastic job of selling the confusion here as Vince McMahon gets in the ring. And for that matter, everyone, with the exception of fucking Earl Hebner, does a fantastic job of selling confusion. This is more of that reality that I was talking about earlier. We go to a commercial break and come back to EMTs, doctors, Vince, everybody there in the ring attending to Shawn. There are many people there in the crowd on their feet waiting for a response. Keep in mind now that since Vince has gotten off of the commentary mic and climbed into the ring, we have had silence. We've had maybe one or two sounds from Lawler at the very start of that, but other than that, the only sounds that we're picking up are the crowd noise and the ambient sounds coming from the EMTs and people in the ring with Shawn Michaels. We get many shots of the crowd standing with concerned looks on their faces, and again, zero commentary. There is no information coming to us. There is silence from commentary. There is just the murmur of the crowd noise and the chatter of the medics in the ring as we fade to black and end this episode. Guys, this ending just blew my balls off. I'm going to tell you that right now. Joe, please get us going on not only what was a fantastic match to watch, but the collapse of Shawn Michaels and the way that Raw ended tonight.
I would like to start by pointing out that I believe there was a planted woman in the stands during this episode.
The brunette?
Yes.
Yeah,
they kept with the camera.
Yep.
And she looked like she was acting.
Yeah. Yeah. Really strange behavior from this woman.
Especially because I don't think they needed it.
Right. Yeah, because she was behind Barry earlier, making like weird gestures and stuff, and then here they showed her again for Shawn's entrance. Which, Bartlett, you talked about Vince having orgasms during that. I really hate when Vince does this overselling of Shawn Michaels. It's not necessary. The most charismatic, the most resilient, the most electrifying. Like, he just uses all these words, and it's like, just shut up.
He's talking about himself.
Yeah, really. Just shut up and let us hear the crowd.
Yes,
react.
Exactly.
You can't even hear the crowd because Vince just won't shut up.
Gushing
And just really wants this guy to sell tickets for him, and it's just, you're trying too hard. Really good match at the start. My feeling at the beginning was, I really hope there's no stupid interference in this match from somebody. Like, I just want to see a good match. And we got it. You know, they did the passing out stuff at the end, but the match itself was awesome. I mean, these two guys they make everything look so easy. No botches anywhere. Lots of great near falls. Some real clever stuff. Bartlett, you mentioned the Owen sort of knowing the Sweet Chin music was coming, so he ran into the corner and grabbed the ropes. Just really good stuff from both guys. The thing with the passing out, obviously they made this look as real as they possibly could and did a pretty good job with it. Vince comes into the ring. So again, for the second time in the show, we sort of see Vince as an owner more than a commentator here. Very concerned about Shawn Michaels. And Jerry Lawler was at ringside. He left the commentary table to go to ringside. That's what made this beautiful, is that there's nobody talking. We're just hearing all of this. Shawn is laying there. The EMTs are in there. So it's just really good acting and great work by everybody involved here. I tried to find more information on this. Like, what are they doing with this? It almost sounds like it's a play off of the Syracuse thing. Like, oh, he has these head injuries. He came back too early type of thing.
Right.
So I'll be interested to see where that goes.
Yeah. I mean, this was very entertaining to watch. And, you know, this is another star-studded match that we got tonight. Really, this entire episode was pretty star-studded. If anyone read, there was even a dark match that was Undertaker versus Bret Hart. These fans really got a treat this night with some great matches. And the way this started off with these two going back and forth, it's no surprise. But even though you expect it to be good, it keeps you interested and it delivers every time with these two. Michaels nailed a Frankensteiner.
Yeah.
That's a move you definitely don't see every day at this point in the WWF. And just the way that, you know, the energy that they had and really the storytelling. I mean, this was a clear example of two professionals in the ring. You know, you could hear the commentary laying those little nuggets of information about Michaels just took a beating the night before and that he's starting to look a little exhausted, you know, and they're leading up to this worked, you know, head injury that he's going to faint from. That I have to agree looked really good. Outside of Earl Hebner, everyone acted fantastically, and especially Owen. You know, that was the thing that really put it over for me, was when Owen looked concerned. That's when you're like, oh, you know, maybe something is going on here. And then, as you both said, once Vince comes in, the way that it's just silent, It just, they did a really, really good job of playing up whatever is happening here. Because, right now it's kind of a mystery. We don't have any clue. The one thing took me out of it for a minute that has nothing to do with anyone in the ring was when they come back from commercial and it's dead silent. You know, they're giving oxygen to Michaels in the ring. Everyone's surrounded around him. And you could hear a kid at ringside chanting for The Undertaker. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm sure this kid doesn't realize how hilarious it is given this situation, but I just couldn't stop laughing and it took me out of it. So kudos to you, kid in the fucking crowd.
He wanted him to get the body bag out.
Yeah. But a lot of fun. What a match to watch. Phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, agreed 100%, not only on the match, but on this ending. The way that Raw ends, we've had one or two go-home Raws that have ended really hot.
Just Raw endings in general.
Yeah. Yeah, the only hot endings we've had have been one or two go-home shows. Now this Fallout episode, it's kind of hard to call it hot because of how subdued it is, but also how serious it is and how just real it is. I hate to keep using that word. I don't want to wear it out and break it here because we all know what we're talking about really with this stuff.
It's still real to me, damn it.
They still try to do this stuff like in modern wrestling and it comes off as extremely fake. But you're right. Yeah. This looked very real. And I don't remember this happening either. This is kind of fresh for me. I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, neither do I. But it just really makes me wonder, what is the difference? Who booked this? Who decided that this is the way that it was going to go down? And who convinced both Vince and Lawler to keep their fucking mouths shut until we faded to black? Because that was the one thing that I was waiting for. Just, you know, he collapses and everybody's paying attention to him and shit's going down and things feel very real and serious and everybody's concerned. And I was just waiting for either Vince or Lawler or one of them to get back on the mic and say, well, there's a serious event here, but next week, The Undertaker versus Kama, you know, some shit like that would just completely ruin it and take us out of the moment. But they fucking restrained themselves and just let the silence ride the whole way until we faded to black. And I thought that was the best possible way they could have ended this episode. And, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it other than it's just so new and fresh, considering what we've been through for the past 2 years. This is so out of left field and so different that I'm so excited now for the months that are coming. It's like we finally slogged through 95, and this is the kind of shit that's getting me geared up for the Attitude Era in 1996. Well, like I said, that was the end of this episode, so we're going to kick it now to highlights and lowlights. Ryan, why don't you go first?
Highlights? I feel like there are a ton of highlights in this episode. Yeah. I mean, this final match, the way they did it, the Diesel promo. But I apologize, I have to go with the thing that made me smile the most, and that was Marty Jannetty being called a no-good, filthy punk and getting destroyed by Sid. I loved it. That is my highlight. And my low light goes along with that, and it's the phone call and Marty Jannetty ruining the Kid and Hakushi match, because I feel like that could have been something fun to watch without all of these ridiculous distractions.
Damn you, Marty. My highlight, like you said, many highlights in this show. This was a great Raw episode. I go with the ending. Just the reality of it, and the match itself was awesome up until that point. My low light, I have to go with the end of Diesel's promo, because it just really brought it down for me. You know, this tweener gimmick that he's doing. I hate to say it because it's something that did end up working for some guys. Like Austin was kind of one of those guys, but it doesn't work for me, brother, right now. I think that they need to go all in or just nothing. And this probably explains why I don't remember Diesel's little tweener run that he has here.
Agreed that this is extremely hard as far as highlights go. So just to get it out of the way, I'll give you my low light first. that is the Skip Savio Vega match, because I am a fan of Skip. I'm a fan of Savio Vega. And once Diesel got going with his promo, it then became obvious to me that they were just in there kind of going through the motions and killing time to get us to that promo. I don't know. I just feel like they could have done a better job at it. I know that it's kind of a, crappy thing to say, but they could have at least put a little effort in so that it wasn't as unenjoyable as it was getting to Diesel's promo. With that out of the way, I have to just kind of pull a bullshit move here and say that I have a 3-way tie for highlight, because I honestly can't decide. Fuck you. I honestly can't decide.
Be a man and pick one.
Diesel's promo, amazing. The Shawn Michaels Owen Hart actual wrestling match, amazing. The finish to this episode, amazing. These are things that just, I'm still excited and popping, thinking and talking about them. And this is something that I haven't gotten out of a Raw in a very long time, so I can't turn my nose up at 1 or 2 over for one. I have to go with all 3 of those because they were all just so freaking awesome.
But you missed Marty's destruction.
Yes.
Yeah, well, whatever. That's the great thing about Marty Jannetty, is that if Sid isn't going to destroy him, Marty Jannetty will just destroy himself. So
so true.
Had they exposed the concrete, you would have put it it would have been your 4th highlight.
If we saw some color.
I was going to say, if they would have exposed the concrete and then we saw a little bit of blood trickling out of Jannetty's ear afterwards, that would have been perfect. All right, Joseph, do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around November 20th, 1995 for us?
Well, guys, this is kind of a slow period because we're just coming off of a pay-per-view. And this show in Richmond is the first of, I guess, the 3 or 4 that they normally do. So not much to report here, but Dave Meltzer did give the Shawn Michaels Owen Hart match 3 3/4 stars. Again, I tried to look up more information about this whole Shawn Michaels angle. I think the Observer went a little too far. Dave Meltzer sort of thought that this was kind of a lowbrow thing because he's making it sound like the angle almost looks like it's something more serious than just a regular injury. He almost made it sound like, to him, it sounds like Shawn Michaels is having like an aneurysm or a stroke or something like that. But I don't really think they went there yet with that, so I don't necessarily agree with that.
Like maybe it'll be like a soap opera where next week we wake up and he's in a coma in a hospital bed or something.
Right. Exactly. So he mentioned that, but I think it almost sounds like Shawn Michaels is just taking some time off. He's going to vacation with Sonny. Most likely. Yeah. Pretty sure this is when it happened.
Candido's being buried at this point, so what better time to take his woman?
But it also sounded like maybe there was some legitimacy to him still having some issues from that Syracuse fight. I don't know, but Shawn is going to be taking time off, and we are balls deep in the run for Shawn Michaels to become champion, so I think it's very possible we may not see him until maybe closer to the Royal Rumble, but I'm not real sure yet, so we'll see what happens here. That's pretty much all I could find. There wasn't really much to report here on this whole situation other than what I've already said, and that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you, Joseph. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us, and if you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can find us on every major social media and podcast subscription platform by searching up the handle Wrasslin Raw. That's WRASSLINRAW. And you can use that same spelling at Gmail if you want to write an email and blister my ass on some stupid shit that I said. By all means, I love it. I'm a masochist. Do it to me. While you're out there on the internets looking us up, don't forget to click subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know about the fastest growing wrestling podcast in the world. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on November 27th, 1995, with matches featuring Sir Mo, Tomoko Watanabe, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.